Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I'm Jeff Jones, and with me today is Jack, and welcome to the first episode of Documentary Club. Today, we're taking a look at the Netflix documentary American Nightmare. But first, I want to welcome Jack in. Hey, Jack, how you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. And hello to everyone that's joined us to discuss this really, really interesting documentary and the case surrounding it.
Yeah, so if you haven't watched the documentary yet, you might want to start there. If not, I'm sure you can just follow along. Um, it helps to see the documentary first, but I don't think it's required. We're going to go through a few things and give a little synopsis. So if you want to get started watching the documentary, that's a great thing. If not, we'll try to keep you up to date. So, first thing I want to do is just kind of give me your opening thoughts about the documentary. Again, it's a three-part series. This episode, we're going to talk about episode one, going to kind of give a synopsis and a review. So, Jack, what were your overall, opening statements on episode one? What's your take, or what did you feel?
Um, in the beginning, you're not really sure. I mean, I wasn't. I don't know how this affected, those are, I mean, this is a pretty popular documentary, but, for me, the first, I don't want to say half the episode, but at least for the first few minutes of the episode, let's just say 15 minutes, I wasn't sure about the boyfriend. And that's just because there's so much you don't know yet. But then as you move forward in that episode, you begin to find out more because the story is crazy that he's relaying to the police, right? It's crazy.
It is a crazy story. It's something that you really, it's almost like, and we'll get to the summary of it in a second, but it's almost like your worst nightmare. And I think that's why it's called American Nightmare, because when people think about, okay, I'm living in my house in a big city, there's crime, maybe not necessarily in my
But it
area,
was
but
it was very low crime where they lived.
right. But when you go to bed at night and you go, why do I lock my doors at night? I lock my
Yeah.
doors because I'm worried someone will come in and kidnap us or, assault us. And that's pretty much what the boyfriend claims. In
Well, and not
episode.
only that, the surrounding of what this intruder supposedly did, that added another element to make the story really kind of unbelievable. You're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, no one comes in and like this, dressed this way, and does this and does what? I never heard of such. And so, my focus was like, okay, what the hell does this guy do? This boyfriend, he did something. It sounds like, but I had an open mind. I wasn't completely locked in because it was only the first part of the documentary. So,
Absolutely. Well, I'll get into a little bit of the synopsis. So, in part one, it's called The Boyfriend. And this is set, the story starts on March 23rd, 2015, around 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Aaron Quinn, who is the boyfriend, he calls 911 to report that his girlfriend has been kidnapped by a masked intruder the night before. They were living in Vallejo, California. And so um, right off the bat, you're going, why is he calling at 4 p.m. if she was
2
taken at
p.m.
2 o'clock
2
in the
p. 2,
morning, right?
yeah, 2 p.m.
2 p.m. I'm sorry, 2 p.m. And
Right. Why is it? Why did
yes,
he wait so long to call?
why did he wait so long to call exactly?
Yep.
So the story goes, the intruder tied them both up, and his girlfriend, whose name is Denise Huskins, was actually abducted. So the police go to the house and they talk to Aaron, who is completely, out of his mind at this point. Um, then he's taken to the police station and he's interviewed by detectives. And the detective who we see in episode one is named Detective Matt Mustard. So Detective Mustard. Already you're like, what? What is this, Clue? We got Colonel Mustard in That's where my brain goes anyway. And at this point, they take, Aaron to the police department. He explains the whole story to law enforcement. He says that he was woken in the middle of the night with a bright light and the sound of a taser. He was told to lay face down and was made to listen to, like, they put this headphone, like, headset on his head, so he couldn't really, they're messing with his senses. So, and they played some wind chime music, like, in this headset. So he's kind of like, removed from the scene in a way, like he can't really hear what's going on or what commands they're giving. So then he claims that he and Denise, his girlfriend, were told to drink sedatives and then to lie back down. And then the attacker, told Aaron that actually this was supposed to be for his ex-fiancée, Andrea. And that this was not, they weren't really targeting her, they were targeting the ex-fiancée, Andrea. And so that's like quite the plot twist. Like, then why don't you stop now? You know what I mean? Then why are you continuing? If this is about Andrea, then why are you trying to take my girlfriend, Denise?
Yep.
So the kidnapper told Aaron that they would need $15,000 in ransom money, and that they would be contacting him later. The kidnapper leaves with Denise. They take Aaron's car and I think his laptop. And so that's kind of where we set the stage for this story, where you're kind of like, what the hell is going on in this?
He was also told not to call the police.
That's right. I'm glad that you added that point. That was a strict rule. If you call the police, then we're gonna hurt your girlfriend, etc.
Yep.
So but he and that's kind of where we uncover why did it take him till 2 p.m. to call the police, because I think he realized that what else could he do? He couldn't anyway. There is an interview with Denise's mother and her father, and they kind of revealed that they were a little skeptical of Aaron at that point too, just because the craziness of this story. This story sounds it's like it's out of a nightmare, right?
Right.
It just doesn't sound real.
Somebody breaks in or gets in. That's another sticking point about this. The house wasn't, or the apartment, whatever, was not broken into. And I don't think to this day they really know how they got in.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's revealed. I don't remember hearing that detail.
I don't think it ever was.
How they got in.
That's right.
So then we talked Lieutenant Kenny Park, who becomes a main player in this saga in all 3 episodes.
Boy, does he.
And Lieutenant Kenny Park states that Aaron, he didn't report the crime for several hours, and he became suspicious of him, firmly on the fact that he didn't seem to be telling the truth. He did, like, the story just seemed so preposterous. So they actually installed a camera in the house to watch Aaron's movements, and that's why he didn't go straight to law enforcement. And that's revealed that they put this camera in his house, and they're like, if you go on the phone and you call the cops, or the cops show up to the scene, we're going to know, we're watching you, right? Or if you mess with the camera. And so, it's almost like the kidnappers have thought of everything at this point. They've really covered their tracks. They know they sedated both of them. They put headphones on them. They put a snorkel mask that's blacked out, like it's got paint over the eyes so you can't see. So they're really like taking away all of their senses. I haven't heard anything like that, using a scuba mask to kind of mess with people's senses,
And to sedate them, keep them calm.
I mean, isn't that what giving it's kind of giving criminals out there too many good ideas, I think, this case here. But if you're a criminal, please stop watching. Please stop watching the podcast. So that was basically the 23rd. Now on the 24th, they have Aaron take a lie detector test, and Peter French, the special agent of the FBI, I believe, says that he failed the test.
Yeah, keep that in mind. File that away.
Yeah, file that away. That he just completely failed the test, and at that point, I think Aaron is at his wit's end. One of the things that they did when they brought Aaron in is they took his clothes from him and they immediately put him in prison clothes, which I don't know if that's standard practice. Like, I know that they often
No.
they want to collect people's clothes or they want to test them, but he's not a suspect at that point. So why? I guess if you give up, yeah, okay, I'll give you up my clothes, and all we have is. But it just kind of sets that stage where you're thinking, God, they're setting this guy up to just feel like a criminal, right?
Right off the bat. Yeah, they took
Right
his.
off the.
Yeah, that's not an interview. That's not a standard interview. If you're going in to interview, you go in and give a statement. But to
Right.
take his clothes right off the bat, that does set the
Yeah.
stage.
I saw an interview with Aaron after this had been taken, and he had said at that point I was starting to question my own reality. At that point, he says he wants a lawyer, and he says, you know what, I've said everything I want. From Aaron's point of view, you have done nothing to help find Denise. All you've done is drilled me. All I'm doing is giving up all the information I can, hoping that something I say is going to help. And from Aaron's point of view, nothing is being done on that end.
Might want to mention the ex-girlfriend, Andrea, because they all work together.
That's right. They all work in healthcare.
Yes.
And so they're all, I think they said they had PhDs. Like they were professional, in the healthcare industry. I don't remember them saying doctor.
No, physical therapist or something of that nature. I can't remember exactly. We can get that information though.
So at this point, Denise has been missing for over a day. Then in the first of many twists in the show, Denise makes contact and says she's been kidnapped. So at some point, there are videos that are sent to a journalist, and proof of life is revealed that she's still alive. And so they make contact. She says, I've been kidnapped. She sounds very calm. And so this is given to this guy named Henry Lee. He passes it on to the detectives. Detective Mustard asks Denise's parents about their daughter's life, and it appears that they've been, he's trying to find dirt on her, right? Like, there's this instance where it's revealed that Denise was molested as a child, and Colonel Mustard, I think I'll call him, implies that victims of sexual abuse have a tendency to
relive the thrill.
Yeah. So at that point, you're like, what? Law enforcement is saying what? I've never heard of that. That any sexual abuse victim is like, yeah, I want to stage another assault so I can relive my trauma.
Never have I heard that.
I mean, so this is where I'm like, okay, this law enforcement guy is really funny. Like, what is going on?
That's right.
So Mike Huskins, the dad, gets a message from Denise saying she's on her way to the house. She's been located in Huntington Beach, which is 400 miles away from Vallejo, where she was kidnapped.
It's close to where she grew up, actually.
Yeah, that's where she grew up. Yeah. So what? Now she's free. So now I'm thinking, Jack, like maybe this is a hoax because like how is she like released so easily, right? Like
Right.
maybe this was kind of set up and um so the police have a press conference and they talk, that they say that they're having a hard time believing Aaron's story. And in episode 1 you can see that they're really putting the screws to him. And he's feeling like his life literally has been turned upside down.
Oh yeah.
And they blame him and Denise for wasting police resources and suggesting that the whole thing is a hoax. They say that they may face charges.
And then that gets replayed by the media over and
Right.
over. It's just crazy.
A Huntington Beach police officer briefly spoke to Ms. Huskins, and all indications initially was that she would be cooperative with the investigation. As of right now, we have not heard from Ms. Huskins, and we are no longer in contact with any of the family members. The statement that Mr. Quinn provided was such an incredible story, we initially had a hard time believing it. Upon further investigation, we were not able to substantiate any of the things that he was saying. And I could go one step further to say this. Mr. Quinn and Ms. Huskins has plundered valuable resources away from our community.
Plundered valuable resources away from the community, Jack? Like, this part really got me because if they are telling the truth, which at this point I kind of am believing that they are telling the truth, although I'm not really sure yet.
Right.
According to the story, the cops haven't done anything to look for her. They haven't spent, whatever the man hours it takes to interrogate Aaron, that's all they've spent on this case.
Well, they did do some searching.
Okay,
I
fair
know
enough.
I remember there's some news reports. They did do some searching around, and of course the apartment, and around the local area. I don't know how in depth that search was, but they did do some. And of course they found blood in the apartment, a small amount. It wasn't much. And Colonel Mustard, he really went after Aaron.
It seems like it seems disingenuous to me, but as you said, they did provide some resources anyway.
Yeah, and I remember, like I told you before, I remember seeing the headline. Now, of course, this was years ago. I'm thinking, man, that don't sound right. What the hell's going on out there? Somebody gets kidnapped, and then all of a sudden they've been released. What the hell's up with that? And this is coming up on 10 years ago. But I do remember seeing that headline. But I didn't really dive into the whole story, so I didn't follow it.
Yeah, I had not heard about this, although I was not living in the U.S. at the time, so it's all new to me. I don't remember seeing it, but I did see the movie Gone Girl, which comes up in episode 1, and
Yes.
they talk about Gone Girl, which was released like a year or two prior, and that was about a woman who faked her kidnapping to frame her partner for murder, her husband.
Yep.
And the police suggest that the case is just like, oh, this is the Gone Girl case. And the media kind of picks up with that. Nancy Grace picks up on it. Everybody kind of picks up on calling this the Gone Girl case. And, my thoughts on that, after looking at a lot of cases with you, Jack, in the past, no two cases are alike.
Yeah.
And whenever we assign, oh, this is just like this case, or this case it's just like what happened here, is probably the biggest mistake, definitely for law enforcement.
Yes.
But as true crime, people as well, like, because it leads you down this path where you think, oh, it's just like that. So now you're looking for similarities, and you're not really just focused on the facts of the case. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Huge mistake by law enforcement in this case. Huge mistake. It was a disaster. They completely locked in on this aspect that this couple had set up this hoax for whatever reason, and wasted all these resources of law enforcement, and that's what they got stuck on, and made some really serious mistakes, both legally and professionally. It was terrible. Of course, we'll find out more as we get more into the episodes, but I think that this is probably one of the more extreme cases that we've heard about, but this does happen. It happens a lot. And what I'm saying is what you just said, Jeff, is that police get locked in and they're done. They're done. They're done really investigating anything. They've made their decision, and that's the bicycle they're going to ride out.
They got that walleye vision, yeah, that fish-eyed lens where they're only focused on Aaron, and I guess like when I say I don't think that they spent substantial resources. I'm sitting in Aaron's seat and I'm thinking, yeah, you're saying substantial, not for what he thinks should be happening, not for what Aaron thinks the resources should be spent. It's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket compared to what, because he's saying these people are out. You need to help find this woman.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know, and I think they just alluded to that in that clip. That when have you ever heard of the kidnappee being released like that quickly? Like almost like
Never.
Oh, we didn't mean it. Like
right.
Okay, they didn't send the money within 48 hours, so they just like release them. Like
right, exactly.
So that's basically what happens in episode 1. So I guess we've kind of been talking about it, but what were your overall thoughts after episode 1? Did you think, if you remember watching it the first time, did you think that it was Aaron, or that it was, because at a moment, I'll tell you this, at a moment, I thought it was her. And I think that's where the Gone Girl thing comes in. I was like, she's alone. She's being delivered to her parents' house. How she pops up at her parents' house? That's suspicious. How would the kidnappers agree to or know where her parents lived? This seems like she set it up. So I'm going to be honest. At that point, there was a little percentage of me that thought maybe Aaron doesn't really know what's going on, and she's kind of behind this with one of her ex-boyfriends or one of her, and that's where I was.
Yeah, it like I said in the beginning, I was really suspicious of the boyfriend right off the bat. And this was really kind of before too much of anything else happened. And but then when she got released, I'm thinking, okay, because they had talked about during the episode this relationship with the ex-girlfriend, and they all still worked in the same unit there at the hospital, this physical therapist kind of thing, whatever they did. And it gets revealed that Aaron is still kind of wanting this girl back.
Mm-hmm.
And him and Denise talk about it, and she really basically calls him out. And this is kind of the conversation that they had that night before they went to bed. They were talking through a lot of that stuff. So then, later on, she appears back in Huntington Beach. I was thinking, okay, the same as you, is like, okay, she's done something to hurt this guy. She set something up, whatever that is, because she's pissed off, because he's kind of, still sniff around his ex. And so yeah, I was kind of in the same kind of situation. I'm maybe not for the exact same reasons you were, but still the same end result.
Yeah, so people who are following along, please let us know in the comments. At the end of this episode, who did you think it was? Did you think it was Aaron, or did you think it was Denise, or the whole time were you thinking this was actually, a true kidnapping?
Right.
Before we close out on this episode summary, I did want to go through a little bit of an interview about what what Aaron was feeling. They were at CrimeCon after this was all done, and this is basically what Aaron had said, what he was feeling when the cops first started talking to him.
I go to the police to give a statement and try to help anything I could do to help them find Denise. One of the first things they do is take my DNA, and they take the clothes I'm wearing, literally strip me down naked, take pictures for evidence. And they give me prison clothes to wear during this. And then I'm stuck in this small room with no clock, no window. I'm just locked in the interrogation room. And for the next 18 hours, they aggressively interrogate me and say, this didn't happen. We don't believe you. Something bad happened, but no frogman came into your house. And you killed Denise, and you can either admit to it now and say it's an accident, or if you keep denying, we're going to paint you as a cold, calculated murderer.
So, let us know what you think, who you thought at the end of episode 1, or what your comments, or maybe what Jack and I got wrong, or what we got right, or what were you feeling after watching episode 1, and we hope you join us for episode 2. Is there anything you wanted to add in, Jack, before we let go on this one?
Well, just for those that haven't watched this documentary, and do prepare yourself for a wild ride, because nothing in this is as simple as what you think it is at all, not even close. You think about the actions of or just what we know so far, what we think we know, and how this occurred, and then the actions of the police department, and it's just prepare yourself for a crazy, crazy story.
The twists keep coming, or as they say, the hits don't.
They don't.
All right, well, that's it for today's episode summary. I'm Jeff Jones.
And I'm Jack.
And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.